Yo, what's good, y'all, man? We got on last week episode 4 breakdown and then explain and yeah, type shit. Anyway, man, yeah, we got all that, man. So hey, great episode, man. It was a short episode. This episode was short. It was like 55 minutes. I just watched it. I just got done watching it, man. So you already know I'm about to do the breakdowns. I'm about to watch the breakdowns and shit. What's going on in that. Things of that nature, even though I know what's going on, but people like to go further into the situation type shit. But hey, like it up, sub, hit the bell, and yeah, let's get it.
Put down your latest copy of Bearskin Magazine.
Why are all these
Nah, she said all the dicks, no cap.
pages stuck together?
We have the latest episode of The Last of Us, sponsored by Chef Boyardee.
I do love Chef Boyardee, though.
In this video, we'll be taking a deep dive into the episode, comparing it to the game, and
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Same with the game. I said, I'm like, it might be of the game too. I said same shit. He was like, oh, I need help. I need help. Shit, goddamn, I need help. And then you got people on the roof. Oh, pop, pop, pop. You feel me? Throwing bricks and all that.
And-
It's like an ambush.
taking a look at some of the details you may have missed. But before we begin, make sure to infect that like and subscribe button, because I may not cover everything you watch, but when I do...
It's fantastic.
We last saw Joel and Ellie leaving Bill and Frank's in Lincoln, Massachusetts, and we last saw me crumpled in a pool of my own tears. They've taken Bill's blue truck, the same one from the game, with one glaring difference. No Bill. Yes, in the game version they actually take Bill to the edge of town before he gives them a loving parting present of a siphon. Something the show will nod at, as we'll later see Joel blowing harder than the Leafs during the playoffs. Ellie is doing her best Travis Bickle in the bathroom of a rundown gas station. At the end of episode 3, we saw her hide a handgun.
Yeah, she had it real quick. So Joel, Joel don't play, when she with the guns type shit.
Same one Frank stashed away in the drawer of the living room. Remember, all the way back in episode 2, she's been wanting a gun of her own, even admiring the guns Joel has. But it seems as though she doesn't have much experience with them, even though she'll later tell Joel she's had some Fedra basic training.
Yeah, she said I used to shoot a gun before type shit.
She drops around, meticulously examines a bullet, and even smells the gun. For her, this is a whole experience. Of course, Joel does not know she has this secret gun, and as we'll find out later in the episode, Ellie breaks one of Joel's 3 rules.
Rule 3. You do what I say when I say it.
More on that in a bit. Joel and Ellie are on their way to Kansas City. In the game, it's actually Pittsburgh. There are a few reasons Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann may have made this change. One, Kansas City is a lot farther away from Pittsburgh, allowing more time to pass for Ellie and Joel to bond. 2, Kansas City looks and feels more like Calgary, where they shot the show, rather than Pittsburgh. And 3, it makes for a less dramatic gap going all the way from Pittsburgh to the game's next large locale, Wyoming. Either way, a lot of the core story doesn't change. Joel and Ellie need to siphon gas every hour or so since it's been 20 years and most of the gas has broken down into almost water. But what I found particularly sad here was when Ellie asked Joel where he traveled to when he had a full tank of gas that could take him nearly anywhere. He responds pretty much nowhere. Joel, like many of us have and would, took this pre-pandemic life for granted. In episode 3, we see how Ellie gets so excited at the prospect of flying in a plane, something Joel merely shrugs off. What we find as mundane, Ellie finds fantastic. And get ready for the most terrible puns in the world. I hope to God this Will Livingston character didn't make it. He's the author of
Nah.
No Pun Intended,
Nah, like, what the fuck going on, man?
and No Pun Intended Volume 2, the second being a book given to Ellie by her friend Riley in the Left Behind DLC.
I heard 2 peanuts walked into a park. One was assaulted.
We haven't met Riley yet, but we know from the season trailer that she does make an appearance.
Yeah, she gonna do just like just like the men doing, go behind, not behind the scene, but they gonna go what you call them motherfuckers? They showed like the story before they get to the main, the present time. I forgot what it's called, but yeah. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, some shit. Yeah.
Even Marlene mentions her in episode 1.
Was Riley a terrorist?
I won't delve too much into their relationship at this point, but the two were friends, and it seems as though Ellie keeps this book as a reminder of her. You can even see the book in Ellie's home in Jackson in The Last of Us Part 2. Almost all the puns from the show are directly lifted from the game.
What did the mermaid wear to her math class? An algebra.
What did the mermaid wear to her math class?
What?
An algebra.
Kill me now.
The pileup of cars here suggests they were waiting for gas that never came. However, Joel also mentions the military crafted these huge snowplow type trucks that would push vehicles out of the way to make room for military convoys. I also love how their car is one of the only colorful things in this shot, and the top right of the screen where they came from is dark and stormy, while the left
like it's about to be a tornado storm or some shit, or a dust storm or some shit.
Side is bright and sunny. It makes me think of the Firefly slogan, "When you're lost in the darkness, look for the light." Ellie remarks that she'd one day want to see a tank, getting her wish a few hours later as they pass a graveyard of broken down military vehicles. I enjoyed the stockpile of canned food beside her taken from Bill and Frank's. I'm sure a 20-year-old can of Chef Boyardee is somewhere in there that we'll see them enjoy later on. In the back, Ellie finds a tape of Hank Williams' singles, which plays a song titled Alone and Forsaken. This is the same song that played in the season trailer. It mentions a man's loss of a woman, leaving him alone and forsaken, which for Joel could symbolize Tess or his daughter Sarah. In the game, a different Hank Williams song plays at this exact point with an equally tongue-in-cheek title, I'll Never Get Out of This World Alive. Ellie also finds some leftovers from Bill and Frank.
Yeah.
In the game, it's a magazine called Hard Man, while in the show, it's Bearskin. I guess they can't get enough of the puns this episode. And the attention to detail is astonishing, with both versions having this forest advertisement on the back.
How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of.
In both versions, Ellie throws the magazine out the window.
Bye-bye, dude.
Food cheddar.
I'm the assistant manager.
This is a strong name.
We get a few shots of the crumbling countryside, now turned wasteland, an abandoned roller coaster, and Bill's favorite restaurant.
And this is not an Arby's.
Of note is this giant railway, which is the Lethbridge Viaduct in Alberta. Completed in 1909, it's the world's longest and highest steel rail trestle, and unlike the show, about 12 trains cross it per day. I also liked Ellie saying she's not tired, then immediately cutting to her asleep.
I was laughing as hell. I was laughing at the motherfucker when she said, I'm not tired, and then she went to sleep.
A gag taken directly from the game. With the sun setting, Joel and Ellie park their truck in the forest, safe from the side of the road. Joel believes this seclusion of the forest will keep them safe from clickers, but more importantly, raiders and hunters, hence they don't light a fire. Ellie here eats faster than Matt Stoney.
Yeah, but she was hungry than a big dog. I'm like, damn. I understand that, but I know they hungry than a bitch.
And the plan is to drive all day and night tomorrow and reach Wyoming by next morning. The two go to bed in Bill and Frank's sleeping bags, and Ellie recites a pun that's also found in the game.
Why did the Scarecrow get an award?
Because he was outstanding in his field.
Although in the game version, Joel doesn't know the answer.
All right.
Because he was outstanding in his field.
Joel tries to ease Ellie's fears, saying that no one is going to find them, but even he doesn't quite believe this as he clutches his gun and, instead of sleeping, watches over her during the night. Ellie wakes up to the smell of coffee, something that would be seen as a luxury in the Boston QZ. Luckily, Bill had a nice supply. In the game, Joel sure does like his coffee.
Did you go to coffee shops a lot?
I did. I really miss coffee.
Joel and Ellie are currently on the I-76, a stretch of interstate that goes east and west between Ohio and New Jersey. The plan is to hit the I-70 and continue westward all the way to Kansas City. Their final destination is Wyoming, the last known location of Joel's brother Tommy. If you remember back in episode 1, we learned from the radio operator his last message came from a tower somewhere in the state. Because he was a former Firefly, he may know more about these secret Firefly bases filled with doctors that he can take Ellie to. Ellie asks Joel why Tommy isn't with him. Tommy is what Joel calls a joiner, with dreams of joining the army straight out of high school. This is likely why we see this army bumper sticker on the back of his truck in episode 1. But Tommy became disillusioned after his tour in Desert Storm. Joining the army didn't make him feel like a hero at all. And after the pandemic, Tommy convinces Joel to join him in a group making their way up to Boston, and the only real reason Joel joined him was to keep an eye on him. Yet another example of Joel being this protector type character. It was with this group that they met Tess, and for a time this life worked for them. That is until Tommy met Marlene. Marlene convinced Tommy that he could make a difference if he were to join the Fireflies, just like the army convinced him he could make a difference with them. So he left Joel and went out on his own.
Pipe dream, him, fireflies, all of them. Delusional.
So Joel, being the big brother he is in search of him, that protective instinct taking over. But perhaps the most important conversation Joel and Ellie have is over family.
Keep going for family. That's about it.
I'm not family.
No,
Say your cargo.
your cargo.
We've seen how Joel bottles his emotions, and by referring to Ellie as cargo, it's one of several ways he protects himself from getting hurt.
Yeah, so he don't say family, you know, for a reason though. Just for a reason.
Cargo is a lot less painful than losing a family member,
Yeah.
but as we go through the season and their bond grows, expect that to change. The road
yeah,
through
of course.
Kansas City is blocked, and I love the added bonus of skeletons waiting in their cars. It reminded me a lot of getting stuck in traffic in LA. Instead of taking the long route around the city, Joel decides to take the next ramp, which means having to go through the city itself. Again, the attention to detail as we traverse the barren streets of Kansas City is amazing. I especially love the theater, which plays Underworld and Matchstick Men, two films which came out in 2003, the year the pandemic started. And shout out to Radio Shack, rest in peace. In the game, there's a large sequence that takes place at the Grand Hotel, but this was shifted to episode 2, Boston, in the show.
Oh, I'll be checking in for one night, and I would like your finest suite, please.
Yes, sir. I would like your finest suite, please.
You are a weird kid.
You're a weird kid.
There's also a brief scene that takes place outside a Fedra military prep school. This is the same type of school Ellie went to in Boston in the American Dream comics. Along the streets are these piles of bones. In the game, Joel and Ellie come across some and remark,
Oh, I don't think these guys were infected.
it's a hint at the new enemies to come. They find the Kansas City QZ with the doors completely open. There is no Fedra. It wasn't uncommon for various Fedra QZs across the country to succumb to the infected or the people themselves. Remember in 2007 that Frank was fleeing to Boston after he said the Baltimore QZ was totally gone. Now what happens next plays out almost identical to the game version. A man faking an injury tries to
you're like, oh, I'm injured.
lure Joel and Ellie, but Joel knows it's a trap.
Yeah,
This was a
that's saying,
tactic he
he know.
used when he was a hunter. In the game, the group that has taken over Pittsburgh refer to
But Ellie don't know that shit though, till now though.
themselves as hunters, and those they hunt, tourists. But the Kansas City crew refer to themselves more as rebels or revolutionaries who have taken over Fedra.
Yeah,
This
they said
group
we-
isn't to
we
be
the people.
confused with the Fireflies. In the game, we uncover this note written by someone in the Hunters stating, "We don't need the Fireflies." They seem to be a separate, more violent and extreme group than the Fireflies. Hitting the gas, the truck hits nail spikes and crashes into a nearby laundromat. In the game, it's a grocery store and features a lot more enemies, partly because it leads to a large gameplay segment. In the show's version, there are only 3 men. Joel orders Ellie to hide behind a wall while he takes care of 2 of them and injures another, but in the process almost gets killed himself.
Yeah, I was saying he almost died. He like, ain't like you can hear the heartbeat too. Ain't like cool feature though. You can hear the heartbeat on this shit. He like, and then Ellie shot him in the back, or wherever he shot him at, and he died.
So,
And he was-
thankfully, Ellie
and
has...
he was over there confessing because he was about to die and shit. That shit crazy. He's like, oh, you had my knife and shit. Oh, woo, woo, woo. All that, you know, that crazy shit he's saying.
that gun, but it's interesting to note that she initially thought of using her switchblade. She creeps up behind
Yeah,
the
first she was
assailant.
like, she was like, I'm gonna use my knife on my gun. She's like, oh, hold on, I got a gun too. Let me use that motherfucker right quick.
And shoots him. A similar scene appears in the game in the hotel segment of Pittsburgh, although in this one, Ellie flat out kills Joel's attacker. It seems as though the writers of the show are trying to hold on to Ellie's innocence, having Joel finish the attacker off with his knife.
Yeah, for a little bit, and then too we gonna see Ellie go crazy for a little bit though, for a little bit.
The attacker refers to himself as Brian, a kid who says he can take them to his mom where they can be fed and taken in and trained. It's an interesting directorial choice to have us not see him murdered, rather hold the frame on Ellie crying behind the wall as we hear the gruesome sounds of a throat being slit. With their truck totaled and the inability to carry their supplies, the two make off through the dangerous Kansas City streets. It's not long before another group of rebels shout out for Brian and his crew. These guys seem to have made their base at a former Fedra outpost. We aren't sure exactly how much time has passed since these rebels took over Fedra, but there's still bullet holes and blood on the wall which indicate it hasn't been a lot. The game is more definitive, with a note stating that this quote little revolution has been going on for 14 months. We also get this grim Fedra poster which shows what happens to anyone who's found to be a traitor. It's here we meet a woman known simply as Kathleen, the leader of this revolutionary band. It's pretty ironic
But she crazy as hell though, I ain't gonna lie.
that a sign of Fedra rights are nailed to the wall, a group she fought to overthrow for being too authoritarian, and yet now she rules in an even more authoritarian fashion. The same is true of the extremism of the hunters in the game, with articles reading that Fedra captains were doused in gasoline and lit on fire. In front of her is a man who we only know as her doctor, a doctor who actually delivered her. She believes he knows the whereabouts of several members who once colluded with Fedra, including a man named Henry who turned in her brother, which led to his death. In fact, it's likely it was this very cell where her brother was killed. So this is all very personal for Kathleen. She's looking for
But she a madman, I ain't gonna lie, but she crazy in Tulum, that's what I gotta say.
the people who killed her brother. Now, the doctor here wasn't complicit in his death, but he may know where Henry is who was. He pleads with her knowing that she was wronged, but this violence needs to stop. As she pulls a gun on him, she asks if he thinks she won't do it, and you can actually see him shake his head. He's known her entire life, and it seems as though he knows she won't do it, and she puts down the gun. But as we'll see in the next scene, it only takes one change for her to muster the courage to do it. Outside are the two bodies of the men.
So that, yeah, I was saying, then she came back, she came back and said, hey, move. Wow, I'm like, God damn, she a sad man, she crazy. Man, I did, what was the old man? Let me come a little, like, what's the old man that she shot? I think it was the old man. It was somebody in that goddamn cage or some shit.
And
Probably
killed
was,
by
though.
Joel, and a third injured. We can even see Brian's father hovering over his body. He even got his own credit. Among the pack of rebels is a man named Perry, who's played by the actor who portrayed Tommy in the video game. It doesn't take long for paranoia to creep in. Maybe it was this Henry guy who called in reinforcements from outside the city. Kathleen's told that this injured rebel won't survive without a doctor. Luckily, there's one locked away, but instead of bringing him out, Kathleen now has the motivation to kill him, later blaming the deaths of these.
Oh, it was the old man. It was somebody. Damn, she like, first she like, you ain't gonna kill me. I ain't gonna kill your ass. I bet.
Men on Henry.
Boom. She ain't say, oh, I'm sorry. You know, she didn't do none of that. She just put her gun out and shoot his ass. No cap.
She orders for the city to be searched and not to stop until Henry is found. Joel and Ellie take refuge in an abandoned bar as trucks that say run and we the people scour the streets. Their plan is to head to the tallest building and get a good lay of the land. This is similar to what they did in episode 2, where they saw the infected roaming the streets of Boston. In the game, their main goal is to reach this bridge. Ellie asks Joel if he's alright. For God's sake, the man just murdered 3 people, one even up close and personal with a knife. And typical Joel once again bottles his emotions, saying he's alright. Surprisingly, Joel isn't angry about Ellie withholding the fact she had a gun.
Yeah, nah, he not though. Nah.
Perhaps because it saved his life. In the game, it plays out a bit differently. Joel gets pissed off at Ellie even though she saved his life because she disobeyed his orders by not staying where he told her.
I shot the hell out of that guy, huh?
And you just hang back like I told you to.
Well, you're glad I didn't, right?
I'm glad I didn't get my head blown off by a goddamn kid.
The show version is the opposite. It's actually Joel who apologizes for putting Ellie in a situation where she had to shoot a man, as he tells her,
Well, you're glad I did, right?
You're just a kid. You should know what it means to
But the line I found most intriguing in this conversation was Ellie telling him that this wasn't the first time she'd hurt someone like that.
Yeah.
Up until this point in the show, the only two people she's hurt are the Fedra agent in episode 1 and the infected in episode 3, which I don't really count. And there isn't anyone she really hurts in the Left Behind DLC or American Dream comics. So either the writers made a change from the source material, or we might see something completely new in a flashback that depicts just how violent Ellie can
Yeah, that's what it's called, flashback. Yeah.
Be in a future episode. Remember in episode 1 when Joel beats the Fedra agent to a pulp, Ellie looks on fascinated.
The most remarkable thing about that moment is that when Ellie watches him, she is activated.
Contrast this with Sarah, who sees her father knock out Mrs. Adler, and her look is one of complete shock. So Ellie definitely has this violent side to her. Even more surprising is Joel letting Ellie keep the gun, even showing her the proper way to grip it considering the shit training she got at Fedra. In the game, Joel initially gives Ellie a rifle in their battle against the hunters,
You make every shot count.
later exchanging it with a handgun.
How about something a little more your size?
Now Joel gives her the gun on the conditions she carries it in her bag, but what does she do as soon as his back is turned? Stashes it instead in her jacket.
Yeah, her jacket. Yeah, she do the opposite every time. Every time you tell them, hey, put in your bag or put it in your coat or some shit, she put it right in her jacket. Okay. She do the
Undoubtedly,
opposite.
this will come into play later on in the season, and her refusing Joel's orders means that she's violated rule number 3.
Rule 3. You do what I say when I say it.
Back at the laundromat, Kathleen inspects the scene of Joel's crash. Joel and Ellie are nowhere to be found, but Perry over here has something to show her. In a hidden attic atop an abandoned building, it seems they found where Henry has been hiding. The attic is filled with crayon drawings of Superman-type characters defeating Fedra guards. These two characters represent Henry and his little brother Sam, the two characters who pull weapons on...
Yeah, we found them. Yeah, cause I was like those boys that was hiding or like, you know what I mean, missing and shit. They right there. So I want to know what they gonna you know what they gonna do. They gonna put them in the with them probably. So, but yeah.
On Joel and Ellie at the end of the episode. I'll get more into them near the end of the video. Kathleen notices that their food supplies are low and orders a doubling of the guards around their provisions. But there seems to be something more urgent on Perry's mind. He takes Kathleen to an underground storage room where this giant crater lay in the middle. It almost erupts, suggesting that something is burrowing underneath. But what could it be?
That's that big ass shit.
What is that thing?
Goomba, sentient fungus with shoes for legs.
My best guess is that this is a bloater, the rarest, most dangerous, and advanced of all the infected types.
Yep, bloater. That's what I was about to say.
This kind was hinted at in episode 2.
So there aren't super infected that explode fungus spores on you?
In the season trailer, we see one of these emerging from underground, so that's maybe what's happening here. To my knowledge, Kansas City does not have an underground subway, so perhaps these creatures lurk in the sewers or tunnel systems. Regardless, Kathleen says they'll deal with this later. Her priority is Henry, and I'm like,
That bitch is crazy.
meanwhile,
Nah, she is crazy though, no cap.
Joel and Ellie break into Kansas City's tallest building, One Kansas City Place, a 42-story building. On their journey upward, Ellie asks Joel how he knew the man who was hurt was pretending. That's because he, Tess, and Tommy were once like them, as he tells her he's played both sides. And this leads Ellie to the next logical question. Has he killed innocent people? In both the game and show, he doesn't answer this question. However, the game takes it a little bit more lighthearted.
So, you kill a lot of innocent people? I'll take that as a yes.
They only make it up 33 floors before Joel is pooped. The man is 56 after all.
Lean the ass. 56 years old, you little shit.
It harkens back to Tess complaining about the stairs back in episode 2.
You try climbing 10 fucking floors with our knees. See how you feel.
Before heading to bed, Joel lays out some glass in front of the door like some elaborate Home Alone trap, and the shoe's on the other foot when Ellie refuses to open up about her personal life when Joel asks him what she meant about hurting someone not being her first time. He reiterates that it isn't fair having to deal with this at her age, and unfortunately dealing with it doesn't get better with age. We also learn that Joel's hearing is busted on the right side, likely from having shot from that side over and over again. But I'm not exactly sure if this will come and play any part in the plot going forward. And who could forget a nice bedtime pun before bed?
Did you know diarrhea is hereditary? It runs in your genes.
I can't take it anymore.
It's one of the first genuine moments between these two where they get to share a laugh, but that's soon to be short-lived. Some time passes and Joel and Ellie wake up to guns pointed at their face, as if their day couldn't get any better. Yeah. This is Henry and his little brother Sam, or at least they're brothers in the game. There are a few key differences to note here. Sam is considerably younger in the show than in the game, with the game version stating that he's almost Ellie's age of 14. Their first meeting occurs while hiding from the hunters, and Henry and Sam attack thinking they're enemies, but it soon becomes apparent they have the same goals in mind. It'll be interesting to see how the show continues the story from here. In the game, the two pairs join forces to pass the hunter guard post at night to make it to a military radio station. Will this play out like in the game, or have the writers concocted some...
It's probably different, but it might be the same shit. It might be different, or it might be the same. I don't know.
Something completely different. But for now, we're left with this cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I hate cliffhangers.
But what did you think of episode 4? I want to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching.
Episode 4 was fire. It was short, but you know, it was fire as hell. Give it another 10 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like, you know, type shit. But, hey, let me know, comment below what y'all think, man. Like it or sub, hit the bell, and yeah. All right. Peace.